rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Jenna, can we have roll call? Ooh, it moved, and I'm starting to laugh.
Sorry, shouldn't laugh. The pledge is very serious.
Trustee Gergen. Present. Trustee Rhodey. Here. Trustee Belt. Here. Trustee Krasovich. Here. Trustee Kreiser.
Here.
Trustee Grabowski.
Here.
President Knudsen.
Here. Item 2 is public hearings. We have none. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any questions or comments? Corrections as to the way they are presented this? I don't think I saw the minutes.
They are in the packet.
They're in there. It was kind of a brief.
Oh, okay. Are there any questions or comments as to the way they are presented this evening?
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve the December 17th, 2024 meeting minutes.
Second.
Nope, you go ahead.
Second, Rhodey.
Everybody wants to second me.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are hereby approved. Citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, with time being indicated by an audible alarm. When the alarm sounds, speakers are asked to conclude their comments. Speakers are asked to please use the podium and state their name and address for the record. Is there anybody here that would like to make a comment at all? Yes, sir.
I'm John Seatman. My address is West 240 North 1221 Pewaukee Road, Waukesha. And I'm here to comment on number 8G. You guys have on the agenda a review and discussion and possible action on property owner request for village cost to share sidewalk replacement at 203 West Wisconsin Avenue. And I just wanted to say that we, as the Seatman family and the Duncans, have gotten together and shared the parking lots there for 23 years now. And we've done our best to manage our own parking needs and the public parking needs there, and we would be forever grateful if the village would participate in some of the cost of that sidewalk replacement, because we do park a very large number of public users in those parking lots. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to make a comment at this time? Okay. Item 5, ordinances, we have none. 6, we have none. Resolutions, we have none. Item 7, old business, review, discussion, and possible action to confirm the Pewaukee School District appointment to the village board, or I'm sorry, to the library board. As you know, we had to redo the contract due to something that we received from the state of Wisconsin. And they would like to appoint Leslie Miller to the board. Leslie was our representative when we could have 2 representatives from the village. So I guess, are there any questions or comments as to what is on the agenda this evening?
I would just comment that Leslie has absolutely been a credit to the library board. Very diligent, very hardworking, and she'd be an excellent appointment in my estimation.
Absolutely. She's been the library board president several times, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Leslie Miller to the library board to represent the school district.
Second, Krasovich.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other discussion? If not, I'll look for a motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Okay, boy, I sure relied on that screen. Okay, we're gonna go right on to the next item is You have to excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I have a bad computer this evening.
Do you want to share screen? Need help?
No, I can
You want a
get it.
paper
It's just
copy?
a matter of getting it up here. Okay, review, item 8A, review, discussion, and possible action on special event permit application for the 2025 Kiwanis Beach Party. Matt? Or Jenna?
Yes, thank you, President Knutson. I think this is the standard application for their annual event that they've been hosting for a while. So there's nothing really outstanding here. The department heads have had a chance to review, and no objections.
Any questions or comments?
Can we do anything about the weather this year?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was horrendous. We almost blew away.
I wouldn't suggest going south, that's for sure.
I'll make a motion to approve the application for the 2025 Kiwanis Beach Party.
I'll second, Kreiser.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, further discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Review, discussion, and possible action on temporary alcohol license for the 2025 Kiwanis Beach Party. Again, Matt.
Thank you, President Knutson. This is the accompanying alcohol license application. It's a separate agenda item, so that it receives your separate approval. And again, no objections from staff.
Again, I will make a motion to approve then.
Second, Roy?
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Review, discussion, and possible action on Positively Pewaukee special event permits for 2025. Again, Matt?
Thank you, President Knutson. So we have before us the materials from Positive Pewaukee, and Liz is in the audience if the board has any questions tonight. There are 4 events that her application materials cover. Waves of Welcome, Waterfront Wednesday, Taste on the Lake, and Grilling and Chilling. Again, these materials were forwarded to the department heads. No one had an objection. Again, I think this is standard from the events that Positively Pewaukee has held in the community in the past.
I'd like to make a motion to accept all 4 events from Positively Pewaukee for special event permits.
Real quick,
Gergen.
I was gonna say real quick, Liz, I just wanted to get your, because I unfortunately had to miss the Taste on the Lake this year. Since it was a new event, I just wanted to get your thoughts on how you thought it went.
Really well.
Obviously, you're bringing it back, so it wasn't, yeah.
Yeah, I think it went really well. We really liked it. We had a lot of people there, so I think it went really well. And the community seemed to really like it. So
Okay.
all businesses were happy.
Okay, great. I'll second it then.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
No, great to see a full roster. We're excited to have all these wonderful events this year.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Again, motion is hereby carried. Review and discussion on possible temporary alcohol license for Positively Pewaukee 2025 special events. Matt?
Thank you, President Knutson. These are the accompanying temporary alcohol license application materials. Again, they're just like what has been done in the past. And they're a separate agenda item so that the record shows your separate approval. And staff has no objection.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have,
Who wanted that one?
Chris.
Chris wanted it? Okay.
Second, Krasovich, yes.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Review the discussion and possible action on replacement playground equipment, including the funding route at Kiwanis Village Park. Matt, did you want to do this, or do we have
Nick can
Mr.
take this
Nixon
one.
from Park and Rec?
My forte, pick and park equipment.
Thank you all. So when I was here in December, excuse me, to share the current status of the existing playground equipment and recommendation to remove that equipment along with potential replacement equipment, there was some direction on, we would like to see not only what fits the budget of about $42,000 in the Village Park Improvement Fund, but what also could maybe be done beyond that for something at the flagship park in the village, and that maybe has more inclusivity around the project as a whole. So we've received, that was the direction I gave our vendor, and then also the surface vendor, which is Forever Lawn, and the product is Playground Grass. And we were able to put some items together for you all to review with a recommendation. In between our December meeting here and tonight's meeting, we also had a Parks and Recreation Joint Board meeting and shared this information with them and do have a recommendation from them. Ultimately, these are village funds, either generated through coming in under budget through the Parks and Recreation Department annually, or through the Layman Fund, depending on what route or funds are recommended tonight. So you will see 4 different options. They were listed as option 1, option 2, option 2XL, and option 3. The first item in your packet is a spreadsheet that lays out the playground cost and how you would complete the install and what would be required. So option 1 include, and all the way through in just the playground, includes wood timbers, which are the boundary item that keeps the, for lack of a better term, mulch or wood chips in that area, and the area defined and allows you to cut grass around it. If you go to option 2 or beyond, there is a concrete sidewalk we are proposing, which brings you from the service driveway between the building and the basketball court, and comes directly off of that running west, where anyone with mobility challenges could easily access via the hard surface. Then there is a surfacing portion in the spreadsheet with dollar amounts for each different surface, or square footage basically, and that would utilize a rubber curb. The reason is it needs, the playground grass is like carpet, it needs something to attach to, and we're proposing to use rubber curb instead of concrete, because in that area there's 4 trees that we don't want to impact the root system. So the rubber surface, or the rubber curb, also has some flexibility to it, not a lot, but some, so that if a root system comes, it likely won't crack it like it would concrete. Lastly, you see a total price, proposed funding sources, which with the Village Park Improvement Fund and the Layman Fund. And then I got down to recommendations that we shared with the Parks and Recreation Board and their recommendations to you all. So the proposed option is, or recommended option at the top of our list is option 2 with the playground grass or soft surface. Taking that across that project with both items, the playground and the surface, would be $171,045. That would leave us, when you combine the 2 funds, the Village Park Improvement Fund and the Layman Fund, $193,000 roughly. That would be a breakdown of $5,000 in the Village Park Improvement Fund and $188,000 in the Layman Fund. For Layman Fund health or status, we've generally tried to subscribe to having at least 2 years of mortgage payment and 2 years of pilot taxes, which roughly shakes out to about $92,000. So we would have over double that. So that's part of what's proposed to you all tonight. Things to consider with the Layman Fund. It would require a majority vote from you all. We have utilized it in the past for park improvements at Village Park last year, including the basketball court, fencing for Diamond 2 or the West Diamond, and some other asphalt repairs. It's not supported through tax dollars. It's completely independent. Things that we are looking to take care of at Lehman Park in the future would be the neighboring deck, which we haven't made a determination on. The windows at some point, not immediate, but in the near future potentially. We tried to replace the balcony deck on the property, and we ran into quite a few issues in doing that. Basically with code and zoning, we were only able to repair it instead of replace it. It seems to be in good health now, but we can't always predict the future. If we were to replace it, which was the intention, there is significant impact to the rest of the building. The way it's built, it would require significant changes to get up to code. Basically, the whole building would have to get up to code, meaning removal of the storage garage, potentially having to sprinkler the entire building. And then if you remove that to build the garage back with the balcony above it, you would also be looking at, do you then do siding and windows at that point? Rough numbers, we're talking like $500,000. We can't predict the future. We don't know when that may or may not come. Ultimately, the village is the landlord for that property, and if it were to be an emergency that the balcony deck was not deemed unsafe, you could always simply tell the tenant that area is off limits, and you can have restrictions on that. So want to give a little bit more of the picture, and then lastly, for revenue or funding, that fund has generally turned an average of $30,000 to $70,000 of profit annually. The current lease is locked in until March of 2028, and we usually begin renewal discussion about a year to a year and a half prior to the expiration of the lease. So we're talking about a little more than 3 years of lease remaining. Tenants have been wonderful. They have an expectation of living there, certainly, and operating. But they've never had concerns over fairness or how we've provided as a landlord through the village or the Parks and Recreation Department. And we've worked together on a lot of different things. So I know I just threw a lot at you, but what questions do you all maybe have that I can try to answer?
Are there any questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
Yeah, I just have one. So we're getting rid of the wood chips, potentially, but there's still need for wood timber.
That would go away if we go.
That line item would be gone if we go with one that has the
the
surface.
rubber curb
Got
to
it.
be able to attach to.
Okay, I was just making sure on that because I was like,
And I do realize in the amount of information I just shared, we didn't even really get into the playground items or maybe what we're proposing there, so I'd be happy to do that if that's helpful.
I would love for you to share a little bit about how this balances the overall needs with integration of components that are inclusive.
Sure. So I'm not sure how much I shared last time, but at a park the size of Kiwanis Village Park, it is pretty common to have separate or differentiated play areas. Usually that would be an age 2 to 5 area, which is what we're proposing to replace, with the newer equipment purchased by the Kiwanis Club being the age 5 to 12 differentiation. In this, if we would go with option 2, which is what we're proposing, in that image, you can see the first image of option 2, you can see right to left the concrete walkway that comes off of the service driveway. It leads directly to a ramp, which could be accessed by someone with mobility challenges, including a chair. You can then use through the ramp system to get just about all the way through and access the slide. Then it becomes part of who you might be at the park with that's able to, say, transfer a chair down and be able to help you out at the bottom. But there's likely access for the entire play structure there. Going down to the next image, you can see the spinner on the left. That is an inclusive spinner, so the transfer height is appropriate for a chair to the spinner. We chose that spinner because it can include up to 8 people, and you don't even need someone to push you. So if you're sitting on it, the blue circle in the middle, you can actually use your arms to spin yourself. In the back there, you can also see the swings and the styles proposed. So we have a top swing, and then other swings that are easier to access at transfer height. So we really have quite quite a few inclusive pieces across that proposal, which when we were looking at through our parks lens and our day camp at the park lens, really that being our best bang for our buck. While option 2XL or option 3 are larger, you're talking almost double the price to not really get that many more pieces. And then the surfacing is inclusive throughout if we would go with the turf surfacing.
And the turf surfacing would also be replacing the wood chips on the existing?
On the west side, no.
Got it.
So while this number might seem large, and I gave a number that is exactly why I'm not in sales of turf, but probably should be.
Clearly.
Clearly.
We all
I'll take a commission
So at
check
the
off of
very
that.
bottom of your spreadsheet, I did ask for an alternate bid or just a quote number to utilize. The surfacing of that area on the west side of where the newer equipment is, a rough estimate was $172,500 before rubber curbing. Part of that is the octagon or hexagon shape doesn't help because it comes in rectangular rolls. So you're laying it out and you're cutting and you're going to have spoil with that. But it's a very large square footage that you're talking about. So the mulch or wood chips on the east side where we would be replacing what was there with the red slide, the older swings, then the orange, red, yellow structure is specifically where we would have the playground.
Bob?
Nick, the expected remaining amount in the Lehman Fund, again, would be enough to cover us for 2 years of mortgage payments and other costs related to that?
It would be roughly 4 years.
Okay,
still.
and we expect $30,000 to $70,000 in net revenue next year also?
Yep.
Or this year,
Yep.
right? When do you anticipate the windows what's going to be needed first? Windows?
That's what we've had in the replacement plan. Now, I'm not necessarily a Windows expert at my house. Could I have put new windows in at this point? Sure. Have I? I have not.
Okay.
It's not inexpensive. The tenants have never complained about windows. And honestly, that item has kind of been in the capital replacement plan since before my time. And we've never once had a complaint about windows. It was just we were able to tackle everything on the list so efficiently, it became the next thing on the list. So it's not necessarily the windows are shot, they can't get opened, things like that. We had it in, I think, as a 24 expense at one point, and we've continued moving it back. I think I currently have it in as 2026. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that we speed that up or even approach it in 26 unless there is a need to do that.
Okay, and even worst case scenario, if we had to replace windows and the deck this year, you're talking an expense of around, just an estimate.
Don't hold me to this, but I'm thinking maybe around 50. The deck, so on the west side, the public access deck, we tried to get quotes summer and fall, and I think probably 2 or 3 of the groups that we spoke to that were supposed to come out never showed up. And the other 2 that came there and we reviewed the project with them on site didn't get back to us with numbers. So it's been in line with kind of how construction has been for that type of thing. So we'll approach that again with trying to get quotes this spring. I would say it's unlikely to get a quote and work done before summer is here. But it's something we'll approach, and then it could be in fall. And worst case scenario, maybe we're kind of looking at doing it the same way as what we did with the upper balcony deck, which is repair instead of replace, which for the time being, it might be a Band-Aid approach, but it's been effective and very cost effective also.
And just as a refresher, the reason that we're talking about this now, that it is a time-sensitive issue, is that the Kiwanis structure is not up to code. It has to be removed. It's gone. It's already gone?
Correct.
Yeah. I don't hang out enough of the time.
And
I had dibs on the swing set.
We cannot give things out of code away or sell them. Jim. But
Except
when you say
overseas.
the Kiwanis equipment, I want to be very clear, the equipment
US
at
code.
Kiwanis Village Park,
Yes.
that was from likely pre-1997 because the Kiwanis Club helped fund the other equipment that is still there, the green and blue. So to be very clear, that is why we are here. But the time-sensitive portion is we would want to have this done as early as we can in spring, but certainly before summer camp begins,
Right.
like June 9th.
There is no summer camp without equipment for those kids.
Now, those kids likely are bigger and will be on the other side for the majority, but for some of the kids with challenges, it's a really nice piece. And we know that because it's such a nice and busy park, there are a lot of smaller kids that go there, and this is a good way to keep them away from our kids and serve them better as well.
Other,
Can you explain, with the surface and curb, so does it last longer? Is it safer? What's the,
Compared to
advantage?
wood chips,
yeah,
significantly safer, much more likely to be in compliance at all times because nothing changes with it. Wood chips could be out of compliance daily based on how often you're getting there and how the behavior of the attendees is. So that is certainly a difference of it. So the maintenance and compliance factor
Inclusivity as well.
and certainly inclusivity. The engineered wood fiber, you're not going to traverse through that and be able to enjoy yourselves or be safe.
and how long does it last usually?
This specific product has a 15-year warranty. So we would fully expect, we usually put playgrounds on a 15-year replacement with the idea that we'd like to have funding at 15 years, but with the expectation we'd like to get 20 to 25 years out of them. That would be the goal with kind of the continual maintenance and what's required of it. If you do have an issue with a small area, you can basically cut it out and patch back with Velcro and glue. So there are repairs to it that you can make without having to rip out the entire thing.
yes,
Have we exhausted all the grant potential as far as ADA and things like that?
I'm really glad that you asked. So that was something we had talked about at the Park and Rec meeting, and what we intend to do. So once we have a consensus here tonight, my goal would be to apply for a community development block grant, which we've had some success with certainly in the past. And that would be heard, I think it's the second Wednesday in February. So I've already asked about that. Now, it's interesting what is and what is not grant applicable. And for this, it would be surface only, not playground. So the background information I got from them was that this specific grant or HUD funding is only for adults, because they assume that a child would fall under an adult that is basically paying the bills. So they don't, and the playground would be built for kids, whereas the surfacing they can justify as an adult supporting a kid would be going there and would need the inclusive surface or ADA accessibility. So what kind of benefits us in this case is that's the higher number. You know, you're looking at the 79,000, and I think we could probably roll in the concrete sidewalk to that number as well. So another 9,000, and then you'd really only be looking at the 68,885 for the playground equipment. So that's something we would likely present or apply and then present. And here at that meeting, it's usually not tabled. This is out of cycle for them. That has generally been to our benefit because these types of accessibility projects don't stack up as well as like equal housing and things like that, which is in their in cycle. They are very much stuck with their federal funding routes right now and uncertainty. That's probably as much information as I can give you today, but with all grants, it's kind of always worth a shot, especially if the juice is worth the squeeze.
are there any other questions? The merry-go-round is speed rated, right?
Of course, always will be, Jeff.
I love it.
Okay. If there are no more questions or comments, Would someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve funding for the recommended option 2.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Are you needing
for
anything further on that, Nick?
Yes, so I would like to clarify, we're proposing with the turf surfacing.
Option 2 with turf, sorry.
Okay. And then last question would be, is this with or without grant funding?
Both,
Okay, and that.
preferred with.
Yeah, same. We'll see. I just wanted to be clear, not that it's,
Yes, not to not hold
Not
up the
dependent
process,
upon.
yes, it is not, it is not, yeah, it's not contingent on it, but it would be very much appreciated, so.
Right,
thank you.
and your second is okay? Okay. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion is hereby carried 6-1.
Thank you all.
Okay, item F, review, discussion, and possible action on proposed park use and retail sales license for Brewfinity Brewing Company at Village Parks for the 2025 season. Matt?
Well, once again, I'm wondering, Nick, if you'd be willing to. This is,
Since you're here.
yeah.
So we have Brewfinity here tonight. Chad is certainly welcome to answer any other questions that you may have, but we have had their proposals come through our Parks and Recreation Board, so this is with a recommendation from them. Chad and Brewfinity joined us in 2024, first when we had a significant gap with the Beer Go in their schedule. So we landed a few dates with them, and then actually as the Beer Go broke down and was no longer able or interested in being at the ski shows, Brewfinity was able to pick up a few of those last August. They've done a wonderful job. They've been very generous. We really like working with them. So certainly have our recommendation from the Parks and Recreation Board and staff.
Any questions or comments?
I guess I'll make a quick comment. Again, I like the fact that Brewfinity is also a brick and mortar retailer within the village. Looking forward to that in 2025. I'd like to make a motion to accept this proposal.
Second, Grabowski.
Okay, we have a motion in 2 seconds.
Oh,
Is that sufficient?
can we
Any
co-sponsor that
further
one?
discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Item G, review, discussion, and possible action on property owner request for village cost share of sidewalk replacement at 203 West Wisconsin Avenue. I actually asked Matt to have this put on tonight. We have a situation where we have a property owner that has some panel sidewalk sections that need to be replaced. And under our current ordinance, it's their responsibility. And what the discussion I had with the property owners was that during the summer, the parking lots, plural, are used not only by the people that frequent their businesses, but they also are used during our events down there, people that are on the beach. It's not just the people that are going to their businesses. It's people using everything in the village throughout the summer, spring, and fall. So they asked me if we would be kind enough to participate in paying for a portion of that. And I believe, I'm not 100% this is how it's gonna go, but I believe it's gonna be Duncan's, Seaman, and then it would be us. It would be a three-way split on the cost of the replacement. And I believe, Matt, did you get the paperwork from?
I did, yeah.
Okay, because I don't know the price on the replacement, so unfortunately, Matt, if you could give us that.
Yeah, if memory serves, the contract with PLM was for $15,000. replace those 23 panels.
So 15,000, so that'd be $5,000 each. And I think for all that the Seatmans and everybody has done, Seatmans and the Duncans have done by allowing us to use those parking lots, because there's one that's next to the, where you can see it, and then they also have one way back in the North 40, which is, they put in by themselves. So I really feel that the village, in this particular circumstance, the village should pay $5,000 to help offset the cost of that particular sidewalk. Are there any questions or comments?
I think,
Yes, sir.
I mean, I think it makes sense that personally, I think the village should be carrying more of the cost burden on this. It's our downtown. It's no different, in my opinion, as, you know, some of the other attractions to Pewaukee. We maintain the sidewalks down there with snow and ice, and our DPW handles everything else with the lighting and what have you. So while I understand sidewalks in front of a property is the property owner's responsibility, granted, even my proximity to downtown doesn't bring people to the downtown. Them using my sidewalk is not our downtown is supposed to be for the community, and to have this put on the property owners, and then on top of it, to have building permits and such held up for this, I think is absolutely ridiculous. And I would like to see us in the future make a change that's out of the CUG for the downtown B2 district, because I don't think that should be the responsibility of any potential tenant that can't open a business because there's cracks in the sidewalk in front of them in our downtown tourist district. So while if the village and the property owners are okay with what has been submitted, great. I will, you know, when the time comes, I'd love to make a motion to approve that. But my personal view is that the village needs to take a stronger stance with maintaining the downtown. And that's everything from the clock tower maintenance to the war memorial to every other asset that's down there. That's for the community, and we should be responsible for that and not putting it on the tenants. But that's my soapbox, so.
Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment? Bob?
Yeah, I guess I have, I'm a little bit, not frustrated. I find this one a little bit more difficult than what you would think. I think when we put the sidewalks that lie in public right of way and the tree ordinance in effect, we did that based off of knowing that trees, we dictate the trees, we dictate the location, and we're responsible for any damage that the sidewalks have. So when I then look at the situation in front of the Duncan building, if you tell me there's something that the village is dictating that's causing that sidewalk to crack, I'd say, yeah, let's do our part and pay for that. However, I don't know if that exists, and it's just it's caused from basic use and age. So I don't look at the responsibility of the village in replacing those sidewalks. But again, I realize that between with the Duncans and Seatmans have been good partners with the parking lot. But again, I'm trying to remain consistent in the way that we look at this. Okay, if we're responsible for that cracking taking place because of something that we dictate, we should pay for our part. If it is not, then I have a tough time saying, yeah, we should pay our part.
Point of clarification, who's responsible for the sidewalks on the opposite side of Wisconsin Ave?
We are.
Okay.
Any further discussion or comments?
I have a question. I'm not sure there's anyone here who can answer it. I know that you sometimes collect fees at those parking lots. Are those fees something that is set aside for maintenance items associated with parking lot usage? So people who are visiting stores or hospitality locations don't pay the parking fee, but if they're they're coming to that parking lot because they want to go to the beach, then there is a fee assessed.
Sure, please, state your name and address again.
John Seatman, West 240 North 1221 Pewaukee Road, Waukesha. Yes, we do have attendants that are placed on site for the certain, maybe most of the really busy days. And the fees that they collect simply pay for they offset the cost to staff that position. It takes two people because you have renegades that come in and they don't want to pay. They come in the out, they try to drive around the barriers, they'll take down the barriers, they do all kinds of fun things. So no, none of that money goes towards any of the maintenance. And just to give you an idea, there's 200 parking spaces between the two parking lots. We lost 2 when we built our storage shed, so 198. And then there's some unmarked ones in the Duncan side that are people park in. People park everywhere. They'll park up on the railroad right of way if there's enough grass to park on. But if you go in there on any night of the week between Memorial Day and Labor Day, it's completely packed. And we couldn't possibly take that many people in all the restaurants in our buildings. So it's pretty obvious when you go down there to see that these are people visiting that are coming to the ski show or the Waterfront Wednesdays or whatever other event there is.
I appreciate you asking about that, Trustee Krasovich. I was under the impression that in the back parking lot, there were supposed to be 2 spaces allotted that were free for Village to compensate for the parking spaces that the different restaurants were using for their seating. And it's been my experience there that there haven't been as many of those allotted. Is that the case, or am I mistaken about that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please? The two spaces behind?
The 2 spaces per dining area. So like, let's say the different restaurants that have taken over the different parking spaces, that for each one of those, we were supposed to have 2 parking spaces in the back that were assigned as Village ones that were free for the public to use.
Yeah, so the dining are usually approved through conditional use, and most, if not all of those, a condition of that approval was a 1-for-1 or 2 spot replacement in the back for spots that were lost. So it's something that's usually tied to the conditional use.
And I know you have signs up for like 2 of them, and usually those are, I've gone back there and seen glass and stuff there, and I know that kids go back there and sit in their cars and try and vape and things like that. But go ahead.
That's not what I do.
I do want to point out, I think the only one we attached that to was the chocolate factory, if I'm not mistaken. Because the other ones were approved prior to that stipulation being put in.
2 spaces.
Yeah, so
They are signed. Thank you.
That's why there's 2.
that was a later amendment to the CUGs. As we kept approving them and people kept getting concerned, Chocolate Factory being the last one, that was the new addition to it, to basically say any of them going forward would now have to provide public parking,
That's unfortunate.
if I recall correctly.
Are there any other questions or comments?
And Bob, to piggyback off what you said, I agree with you. This is, my soapbox was specifically for the downtown B2 district, not any of the residential sidewalks that exist throughout the village, so. I'll make a motion to approve whatever cost share agreement has been submitted to staff and property owners.
Do I have a second?
I have a, do we not have a final cost then?
No, we do. It's $15,000.
We do.
That's, yeah.
And we can approve this without the, I mean, I didn't see that in the attachment. Is that, did I just
We
overlook it?
got it late, so.
Yeah, it came out.
It's not in the packet.
Ah.
If you're inclined for an approval, you can certainly add a not to exceed amount. I think you have the numbers to do that.
I will amend my motion to include not to exceed the cost of, or am I, Matt, correction then, would I be just talking the village portion or the total amount?
The village portion.
The village portion of $5,000.
It would be $5,000 the village would have to pay for their portion.
I'll second, Krasovich.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Okay. I'm gonna do a roll call on this, please.
Trustee Gergen,
No.
Trustee Rhodey,
No.
Trustee Belt,
Yes.
Trustee Krasovich,
Yes.
Trustee Kreiser,
Yes.
Trustee Grabowski,
Yes.
and President Knutson.
Yes. And the totals were?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses and 2 nos.
Motion is hereby carried. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay, item H, monthly approval of checks and invoices for all funds, November 2024. I hope everyone's had a chance to go over the November 2024 list. Are there any questions or comments as the way they are presented this evening? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second, Krasovich.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Look for a motion to acknowledge the library funds for November 2024.
Motion to acknowledge the library fund.
Have a second?
Second, Kreiser.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Item 8I, monthly approval of checks and invoices for all funds, December 2024. I will look for a motion to approve all funds except the library funds for December 2024.
Motion to approve, Rhodey.
Second, Gergen.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Lastly, I will look for a motion to acknowledge the library fund for December 2024.
So moved, Krasovich.
Second, Gergen.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Okay, we're gonna go into citizen comments.
Oh, citizens left.
Mr. Worth is here for the closed session.
Oh, he's here for the closed session, okay. There are
But
no
he might wanna
citizens
make
here.
comments.
Make a comment if you wishes.
It took the whole.
Do you have a comment, Joe?
To get the Wi-Fi working for.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna, item 10 is closed session. The village board of Village of Pewaukee entered into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 1985 1G for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the government body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, specifically regarding Wisconsin Manufacturers Commerce versus the Village of Pewaukee, case 22 CV 000515 and Hawthorne Place LLC ATAL versus Village of Pewaukee, case 24 CV 1584, and pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 1985 1C to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility specifically regarding the village administrator. I look for a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session, Krasovich.
Second, Kurgan.
Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Gergen.
Yes.
Trustee Rhodey.
Yes.
Trustee Belt.
Yes.
Trustee Krasovich.
Yes.
Trustee Kreiser.
Yes.
Trustee Grabowski.
Yes.
President Knutson.
Yes. We are hereby going to be in closed session in 1 second. Please turn your Nobody down? No.
I think it's optional.
Jenna, let me know.
Yep, we're back on.
Go on.
I'm fast today.
All right, everybody, we're back in session.
Just today.
Item 11A, discussion, review, and possible action on goals for the village administrator. Do I have a motion to approve what we have presented this evening?
Motion to approve the village administrator's goals as presented.
I'll second that. Kreiser.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. 11B, discussion, review, and possible action on compensation for the village administrator. I will look for a motion.
I'll motion to approve adjustment to the compensation package for the village administrator as discussed.
Second, Gergen.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. And finally, 12 is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, Gergen.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are hereby adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Try to stay warm. Boy, I sure missed those Zoom meetings tonight.
Hey, at least you're not at ski camp too.
That's true. That's very true.
That's where Brian and Allison are. Like, I'll gladly go